This is my watch list for Monday, June 1st. All right. So, what's going on? We're gapping up a little bit. Today is Monday. This is the Friday session. 758 was the high from Friday. Okay, so that's my bias level for today. If we're above 758, then we can look for longs. If we get back below 758, we can look for shorts into 754. Okay, 754, we get below that, we get to 752. And if we get below that, we get to 748. All right, these are my big levels on SPY. QQQ is actually below the Friday highs, and the pre-market high is 742. All right, so yes, this is a bullish structure. However, like I said before, we're kind of overextended, topping out. This to me, as long as we're below 742, I would not be looking for longs on the Qs. I would look for shorts. If we get under 737.50, previous all-time high, I like shorts back into 731. Okay, that's something I'll be watching today. If it gets above 742, you can look for longs, but it's pretty overextended, so be careful trading longs on SPY and QQQ up here. Apple failed that 313 level. Remember I said, be careful taking the 313 breakout on Friday. I said maybe it'll get a couple dollars out of it, but it's pretty overextended. So we failed 313, and into the afternoon failed as well. Now this is pretty choppy in here. I would say we'll probably go and retest this demand at some point this week, and that's where I would be interested in taking Apple long at 303. Some chip names are starting to sell off here in the pre-market. AMD down 3.5%. Okay, this is normal pricing. We need a reset, right? A lot of these names super overextended, so we need a reset. Where could you look for a bounce? 470, 470. This was this previous structure high from May 11th. If we get there today or at some point this week, then that looks like a good bounce zone for me. Let's see, Google, this breakdown actually wound up working nicely on Friday. I talked about this 383, 382 level. It did chop around a little bit in this zone, but then the sell-off into the afternoon wound up working well, and today we're gapping down into 377. We can look for a reject. If we pop back into this level today, 382, 383, can look for a reject on Google, okay? Meta, it did exactly what I said, right? We broke out of this range. We had talked about this range at 624. It broke out of the range, had some news this past Wednesday, and then we retested that range on Friday, 624, and we held. And now it's bouncing. It's still bouncing, okay? So this actually has room into 650. This could happen this week. It's definitely one of the strongest names out there, as well as Microsoft. Microsoft up 4% in the pre-market, closed up 5% on Friday. It broke out of this 433. I mentioned that 433 level, okay? And now it's gapping up today because of a deal with NVIDIA, okay? Develop AI chips for laptops and desktops, part of a 3-year partnership to add AI to PCs, okay? So pretty big news coming out. I mentioned this 433. At this point, I don't know. You could look for longs off of the Friday session high, 450, or we could look for longs if eventually it gets back down to that 433 to retest the range, similar to that Meta 624 level, okay? Netflix is below 8650, has to reclaim. If this reclaims 8650, it can turn into a long again. NVIDIA, I am watching over this 218, okay? So 218 was my short level. We caught this short a couple of Fridays ago, got the short here, got the short here, got the short here. But now, if we reclaim 218, it's a long, okay? I mentioned 212 being the key level for us to hold if this is going to turn into a long, and it's starting to hold that 212, okay? So we reclaim 218, then this can go back to 222, 224, okay? Tesla, I mentioned the 450 level, right? It's now pretty far off of that, and it's one of the weaker names here in the pre-market, so I'm actually not watching anything on Tesla, okay? So that's pretty much my watch for today. I will say that software names are going crazy. So remember, I told you guys to buy CRM. CRM is now ripping. I told you guys to buy Now. Now is already up like 40% from where I told you guys to buy. Okay, I told you guys to buy like in the 80s, 90s back here, and now we're at 136. CRM, Adobe ripping up 7.5%. All these names, these software names, everyone was scared of. I told you guys to buy, and now they are ripping. All right, so great morning for our long terms, and hope everyone has a great start to June. Good Monday, good start to the week, and I'll see you guys online.